pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready? Good evening.
Ready for attendance?
Please take attendance.
President D'Alessandro.
Here.
Vice President Schaefer. Here. Secretary Reese, present. Treasurer Hanser.
Present.
Trustee McDonough.
Here.
Trustee Summers.
Here.
Trustee Whitney.
Here.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the board agenda? We have none. And we'll go into item 3, our school presentation. Our leadership conference presentation. Mrs. Beasley and our students.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here tonight. I want to just give a shout out to our leadership class at Oxford High School and our leadership teachers, Mrs. Getz, Mr. Brown, and now Miss Gordon. Our students are here to talk to you about the Student Leadership Conference that we just had an opportunity to host. And I participated in the conference, and I was so proud of our students. I knew you would be too. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Asia. Before we begin, you can see some things around. These are some centerpieces that we're going to be talking to. You see our students in their leadership shirts and our leadership badges. So, Asia.
Hello and good evening. We are Oxford Leadership Executive Board. My name is Asia Burney.
Isabella Mezen.
And I'm Jacob McComb.
I'm Elizabeth Williams.
And I'm Cassie Crone. And we have Xander Brown, who is unfortunately not here with us today as he is rehearsing for this weekend for his role as Sebastian in the Little Mermaid musical. We recently hosted the MASC MAHS Leadership State Conference. It was a huge part of our year, and we wanted to present to you our process for a better understanding of the hard work and dedication of our Oxford Leadership class. For the 2023 Leadership State Conference, we had over 2,000 attendees from around 100 schools across the state. The Michigan Association of Student Councils and Honor Societies, MASSP's Student Council Leadership Division, is one of the most successful state leadership divisions in the nation. The purpose of the conference is to help students grow as leaders while providing them with the opportunity to have fun, meet new people, and learn new skills. Throughout the conference, we wanted to put an emphasis on love and empathy as part of our theme, Rock the Love. Another big aspect of this event was to honor different schools' leadership teams for all their hard work.
So you guys may all be wondering, how did we put this all together? So the director of the MASC MAHS, Matt Alley, contacted our advisor, Ms. Getz, wondering if our Oxford leadership team wanted to help plan the 2023 state conference. So of course, Ms. Getz asked us, and we said yes with no hesitation whatsoever. Following the months ahead, we began planning the conference. Within our leadership class, we formed 4 different small committees dedicated to planning the conference. They are the Decorations Committee, the Opening Ceremony and Skit Committee, the Social Media Technology Committee, and the Structured Activities Committee.
This event took place February 24th to the 27th. We started planning on August 5th when Ms. Getz reached out to us to start working on it. We worked on states in our leadership class from our very first day of school until the event actually took place. All of Oxford High School leadership class showed up to the venue one day early to start getting things situated. During this, students stayed at the Amway Grand Hotel, and the DeVos Place in the conference hall is where actually most of our event took place. There were many people involved in the process of states. The Oxford leadership class consists of 70 students, 9th through 12th grade. Students in the class were on different committees. Committees were led by our executive board, E-Board. The students helped plan, prepare, and run the conference. Matt Alley, the director of MASC, and Misha helped keep the class on track with different dates and deadlines for the conference. He always made sure we had things done in a timely manner and would make different visits to Oxford to make sure everything is done. Miss Getz, Mr. Brown, and Miss Gordon were our mentors during the process. MASC/MAHS, which stands for Michigan Associations of Student Councils and Honor Society, and MASSP, which stands for Michigan Associations of Secondary School Principals, also help Oxford put on the conference.
So one of our planning committees that I did mention earlier for the conference was our skit and opening ceremony committee. So at the beginning of the conference, we welcomed students in by performing a skit in which we wrote in entirety. The skit relates to our theme, Rock the Love, and makes students excited for the weekend ahead. Following the skit is lots of conference information and introduction to different speakers at the conference. The parade of schools, where there are 2 representatives from each school representing their school at the conference, also occurs during this time. We also recognize schools who received awards as well.
The Social Media and Technology Committee. Asia and I marketed the state conference on Instagram on MASC State's 2023 account. We created a dress code video, a hype video, and a countdown to the conference actually began. We wanted to connect with other students who also had an interest in leadership while also giving them sneak peeks to what the weekend might hold.
The decoration committee was headed by myself and Isabella Mezin. We began our process by brainstorming with our committee members to create a decor plan. Gradually, we ordered supplies and began construction. Our centerpieces were the most laborious aspect. We had students working every day to finish them. Throughout the months leading to States, we gathered all our decoration supplies, filling our storage room in the process. A few days before we had to pack up, Miss Gordon and I went to school on a day off to finish any final touches. Finally, we packed up Matt's truck and sent everything to Grand Rapids. Once we were at the venue, we only had a few hours to set up.
Now here's a little bit more about the decorations that we actually had at the conference. We had 2 different kinds of centerpieces, shown right there. We had a vinyl record chandelier and vinyls on a stick to look like a flower bouquet. We had 170 tables with included 1 centerpiece, bags with tattoos and stickers, and guitar picks on the tables for everyone can sign. On the stage, we went all out. We had big light-up love letters, rock store cutout, cardboard cutouts, fake flame machines, fake skulls, and a drum set. On the windows, we had small vinyls signed by schools, music notes, and different colored stars signed by Oxford students. In the hallway, we had the Wild Wild Wildcat merch stand. Different schools brought boards that showed the events they put on their school. The students were able to look at the boards and think of ideas that they could bring back to their school. And overall, all the decorations looked amazing.
So another one of our committees was the Structured Activities Committee. This committee was actually run by a fellow student, Bailey Stevens. And the structured activities are meant to get students to think as a leader and connect with other students at the same time. So the 2 structured activities that we did run at the conference were the Qualities of a Leader activity, where we had all the leaders at the conference write down what qualities they think best fit a leader. And the puzzle activity, where we had every student at the conference draw something on a puzzle piece, and they had to form it together with their group.
We also had the amazing opportunity to choose and hear from 3 keynote speakers. Our first keynote speaker was Lamar Womble, who delivered messages such as be legendary, give yourself the pause to work, be yourself because you are enough, and you have to be yourself to become legendary. Next, we had Chris Collins, who delivered messages such as you can be as good as you want, you just have to do the work. Time plus energy plus hustle equals change. Your perception is your reality, and do good anyway. And then finally, we had Brooks Harper delivering messages such as students either make it happen, watch it happen, or say what happened. Dollars equals diligent, organized leadership, learning, accountability, relationships, and speaking. GPA equals goals, plans, and action. The speakers were engaging and had relevant, useful advice for students. The students enjoyed their speeches and got involved. In fact, after Mr. Collins spoke, I witnessed 2 students that were not called on during the speech come backstage to Chris and thank him for what he had to say. If you ever need a guest speaker, I highly recommend one of these 3.
At the state conference, we had students from other schools present their ideas and events, mainly focused on fundraisers that they organized through hard work and support from their schools and communities. All students in attendance viewed these presentations in hopes of emulating these concepts to inspire new ideas to bring back to their schools to increase participation and spread awareness of their respective fundraiser. Drew Cady, Taylor Derry, Maddie Krozek, and Ava Bailey were honored to represent Oxford High School and introduce Light Up Oxford to the other schools.
Now for our awards that Oxford won. Part of the conference is the awards that each school can submit nominations for. The Oxford Leadership class got awarded the Award of Excellence and the Star School Award. Maddie Krojak won the award for Unsung Hero. Kurt Noose was nominated for Assistant Principal of the Year, and Xander Brown was nominated for Student of the Year.
Throughout the duration of our Leadership State Conference, there were several events hosted, including our formal dinner and neon dance party. Here are some pictures from these events.
We really did want to show you this video. It does take 3.5 minutes, so I'm going to send you the link, but we encourage you to watch it. It really recaps the fun and energy of 2,000 young people gathering in Grand Rapids a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so we did put together this recap video, as Ms. Beasley said. It was really important to us to capture all these memories. It was a big weekend for all of us, so it was just great to get that put together. And through our conference, we all learned a lot, to say the least. We represented not only Oxford High School, but also our community, and we are so proud to do so. We want to thank you all for your time and hope you have enjoyed seeing us rock the love.
Comments for them, so they are prepared.
Anybody have questions for Asia, Isabella, Elizabeth, Cassandra, or Jacob? Did I get those right?
I have a comment. Of course, I have a comment. Congratulations on getting that done. I've been to a lot of conferences, and I know a little bit about what it takes to get those put on. So congratulations, and I love the presentation too. Thank you for taking us from start to finish. My only question was, is the skit on YouTube? Because I'd really like to. I'm hoping to see the skit. Just.
We do have a video of it. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube, but we do definitely have it.
I can send the link to Ms. Beasley.
That would be great, and I would really appreciate seeing this. Thank you so much. I love it. Great work, team.
Thank you.
Nice job. Very good job.
There it is.
Great
Thank
job.
you. Anybody else? Thank you. Okay, we have our DA Elementary School presentation. Mr. Boyd.
Hello, hello. I'm
Hello,
Chad
Mr.
Boyd. I'm
Boyd.
the principal at Daniel Oxford Elementary. I'm here today just to share some of the things that we have going on at our school. You may hear some of the same themes amongst our elementaries when we come and visit the school board. We're working on a lot of the same things this year. Some of it is guided by the strategic plan. Some of it is the recovery plan. So on these slides, we just tried to highlight a few of the things that we're doing. Hopefully it's not boring you hearing about things like PBIS and win time and those sort of things, but those are initiatives that are across the board. So this first slide just shows some pictures of our target time at Daniel Oxford. That's the same thing as win time. We started to explore that quite a few years ago, and we called it target time. So as we adopted that district-wide, we've kind of stuck to that name of target time, but it's the same thing. It's a devoted time during the school day where we're really targeting what each individual student needs. So some students receive literacy support, some students receive math support, some students are even extending some of their learning in different areas through some online programs like Moby Max, math, working in small groups or working with their teachers. So it's been a while since I was a teacher here in Oxford, but I taught 10 years of second grade. And one of the biggest challenges that you have as a teacher is having your kids pulled out all the time, all day. And so one of the greatest things about this is that we target a certain time so students are not missing new curriculum in the classroom while they're receiving intervention. Because otherwise, you're really struggling to keep them up with what's going on in the classroom because they're gone receiving intervention. So this really devotes like about 30 minutes per day in every classroom to receive those supports. So there's some of our interventionists there working either one-on-one or small group. You're probably hearing about PBIS across all elementaries. So it's an approach to behavior at school and supporting students' behavior choices. There's a sample of our paw ticket at Daniel Axford. Actually, we used to have this social worker at Daniel Axford. She's moved on from DA and she works at central office, Pam Beal. So she helped us a while back create the paw ticket. And we've continued to develop the program in the years after Pam. And so there's this year's, our essential agreements at Daniel Axford are to be principled, be caring, and be safe. Overall, some of the key points of PBIS and why we do it is that PBIS creates a predictable environment for students at school. It teaches appropriate behavior. It acknowledges appropriate behavior. And it also plans supportive responses to problem behaviors. So it's all about teaching. There's certainly consequences from time to time for some behavior choices, but the most important thing, especially in my building being developmental kindergarten through second grade, but even K-5, is that these are teachable moments, just like when students are struggling in math or reading, we help them and we teach them, and the same thing is in behavior. If we have making some behavior mistakes, it's an opportunity to teach as well. The picture of the student is a student at Daniel Axford. We'll talk in a second just about March Reading Month, but we're wild about reading and writing this month at Daniel Axford, but we're also wild about paw tickets. So we have, kids love paw tickets. They love that positive acknowledgement. They love to take it home and show their parents, but we've also set a goal school-wide for receiving and giving paw tickets. If we hit our goal here by the end of March, we have a special assembly coming to Daniel Axford. One of the other goals in the recovery plan that we're really appreciative of is the increased personnel around mental health. Here's a picture of our family school liaison, Andrea Herron. She's doing an amazing job with our students and our staff. So she does multiple things with students. Sometimes she's working in small groups. Sometimes she's responding and supporting through students through like behavior decisions that they may have made. But also she pushes in proactively into classrooms and does lessons weekly with the second step curriculum. So here's an example of her working. A lot of times you'll find them sitting in circles as they have discussions around her curriculum that she's delivering in the classroom. March across the district is traditionally a month that we recognize as Reading Month. Of course, every month it's important to read, especially in a K-2, but we do take that extra time to recognize reading and celebrate reading, and we extend that to reading and writing. One of the things this year, across the district, we have a common theme, which is wild about reading and writing. We have this little mascot at DA as well. It's the Wildcat. We did add the mascot over the last couple of years because the high school mascot's a little scary. If you really look at it, its face has these like teeth and stuff. and like the kindergartners, like it, but this one's like, he's so much more friendly. So it really fits in our building. But on the right side, we do this special tournament, and I even wrote down the name of this award. It's called the Theodore Seuss Geisel Award. And that award recognizes like new books, picture books that are recently, so they're new books that were published. And so we go from, there's this award that's given, not by us, but given to the best new book. And we try to guess which book is going to receive this award. So we make some selections of these new books. We read them to the students, and we create this tournament to kind of match like March Madness. So the kids vote. They hear two different new books, and they vote, okay, which one do they like the best? And we announce it, and then that book advances. And then so finally, by the end of March, before we leave for spring break, we will have selected Daniel Axford's recommendation for this award. And if we really write that down, and I believe the award is announced the following January, so we got to hold on to it for a little while, but we can figure out if the book that we chose also matched the award. So it's kind of to celebrate some of those new picture books that are out there for students. One last thing I'd like to just recognize. Recently, we named our Teacher of the Year, Jessica Bull, as Daniel Axford's Teacher of the Year, and you can see her in the picture on the left. She's been a DA teacher for a long time, and she was also went to Oxford schools. So we just love having her at Daniel Axford. There's a couple of her daughters are there in the picture. But certainly, I believe in a future board meeting, you'll be recognizing many of the Teachers of the Year, but I'm taking these extra moments to recognize her as well, to give her a little more fame because she does a wonderful job for us. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you, Chad. Any questions for Mr. Boyd?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. All right, item number 4, scheduled public comment for agenda items only. Did we receive anything before yesterday? No. Okay. Move on to number 5, our superintendent's report.
Yeah, I have 2 things. One thing I'll start out with. The board has recently been asked for an update on the Guideposts report investigation that's coming forward. I know we had hoped that Guideposts could be here at this board meeting, and they can't, but they will definitely be here early April, hopefully at our first board meeting. But they did publish and send to us this morning an update of where they are with the investigation. And with your permission, I'd like to read you a synopsis because for those people who have been inquiring, this is where I talked with our board president, and he and I kind of thought that this might be an appropriate piece of information to share with those who inquire. So as an update, I would say that, for the concerns that we've been receiving from the community, we do understand their desire for a report to be shared sooner rather than later. The board too shares that desire, but also recognizes that a thorough report is crucial. And then today Guidepost brought us an update. So today Guidepost has shared an update with us on the status of their investigation. They have a few remaining items to be reviewed in order to complete their findings. According to Guidepost, they have begun to write their extensive and thorough report in earnest from the numerous interviews and the tens of thousands of documents gathered from not just the district, but also the Oakland County Executive, Oakland County Corporate Counsel, Oakland County Prosecutor's Office, Oakland County Sheriff's Office, the Michigan Legislature, and many others since they began their third-party investigation. Guidepost has been continuously obtaining records from the legal arena as well, which has taken time. The lawsuits did give some employees pause in accepting interviews. Guidepost is currently in possession of all the depositions taken and is working to schedule a small number of remaining interviews. Regarding the portion of the report covering current security and threat assessment programs, Guidepost has observed a national training program that Oxford staff is receiving for investigating threat assessments. In addition, they have observed and evaluated the current security safety equipment and procedures in place. There are a few security matters pending review. Furthermore, Guidepost wants to include in their report the district's newly adopted Navigate 360 system, a digital system for processing threat assessments. This system will go live in early April, and they would like to see it in action to form their assessment. Again, we understand and share the community's desire in wanting a report sooner rather than later, and also desire it to be thorough and complete. Guidepost has let us know they will be sharing another status update in early April. So that is from Guidepost. Also, I had mentioned when I first came that we would be giving you a progress report on the recovery plan, different sections of it. Tonight, we're bringing you where we've gone with staff wellness, which is a section of the report, and our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources is with us tonight, Ryan Reed, to give us that report. You have a copy of that section of the recovery plan in your, or you have a copy of the presentation, which contains a copy of that section of the recovery plan.
Okay, good evening to you all. I am Ryan Reed, and it is my honor to be here tonight presenting to you on staff wellness. As you are well aware, staff wellness is an integral component of our 3-year recovery plan. Retention is also a critical component of the recovery plan. David Pass did present to the board in September 2022, specifically on staffing and retention. Through our wellness work, we aim to increase retention, of course, and have a positive impact on the overall district culture. So tonight, I want to hone in on staff wellness and present you our progress thus far. Okay, so the first goal is to establish a culture of well-being that will provide employees the ongoing support and resource needed to be successful. And in the graphic there, you can see the 3 components that I will discuss with you this evening: the Wellbeing Committee, our initiatives, and the EAP, or Employee Assistance Program. So next, let me talk to you about the purpose of a Wellbeing Committee. A Wellbeing Committee is helpful in identifying wellness program initiatives that will be meaningful to our employees and help establish a culture of well-being as outlined in the recovery plan. A Wellness Committee ultimately directs the path of our wellness program because collectively, our committee serves as the voice of our employee population. The committee members will relay the wants and needs of the employees when it comes to their health. The committee members will also be able to communicate the wellness initiatives that employees responded favorably to and deliver constructive feedback on the initiatives that require some refining. These opinions will become vital in the forward momentum of the district's well-being program. So it is our goal to give voice to our employees district-wide through the work of our committee. We want our employees to feel heard, valued, and appreciated. You can see in the graphic here, there's a lot of value on investment in a well-being committee, including recruitment, retention, productivity, satisfaction, and then you can hone in on return on investment in terms of healthcare costs and insurance claims. On the slide here, you will see the results of our first Employee Wellbeing Pulse Survey. We sent this prior to the first meeting of the Wellness Committee in February 2023. A Pulse Survey is meant to be short, and it's meant to be sent on a regular basis. It is our goal to send this Pulse Survey 3 times a year in the fall, the winter, and then at the end of the school year. Over half of our 800 plus employees responded to this Pulse Survey that we sent district-wide. Over half of the 800 plus employees. So the Wellbeing Committee met for the first time on February 7th, 2023. We discussed the results of our pulse survey. We set our mission statement, which is the same as the first goal that we looked at on the second slide there. We discussed expectations. We defined global well-being, being financial, mental, physical, and social well-being. So there are all these different components that make up well-being and the work of our committee. Our group met again today, and we plan to continue our meetings monthly through the end of the school year here. I want to highlight something we did today. We took a moment to pause, do a mindfulness activity, some breath work, in hopes of lowering stress levels, or at least being aware of where we are as folks. And I will say it made me slightly uncomfortable to come out of my comfort zone with 30 of my closest well-being committee members, but it was intentional, and that's the work that we're moving forward in our district. I want to publicly acknowledge all of our well-being committee building champions. You can see here on the right side of the slide. Thank you to all of them for their dedication and efforts to move forward staff wellness, and I want to thank Shannon Lewis from the HR department for her work in leading this group. On the next slide, you will see some photos from two of our first initiatives. We had Swag Day on March 3rd, and we are also highlighting Move It Mondays in March. So here are some fun pictures from our staff. We have hashtag Wildcat Wellbeing that we are asking folks to post on social media to share their fun experiences in the building, their fun photos. We also randomly selected from Swag Day a building to honor, and that building is Daniel Axford, so we will be providing them with a lunch in April. I wanted to highlight a couple ongoing support and resources that the HR team is providing to our staff. So the first is Thrive Monthly. It's an HR newsletter for information and encouragement. In the newsletter for March 1st, we highlighted the Wellness Committee, and we plan to continue to use the newsletter for employee recognition and ongoing communication. I wanted to also mention to you that our HR team worked to contact all staff members with students who attend MSU to extend support to them. We want staff to know our goal in HR is to support them, and this was one impactful way to show that support. Lastly, I want to highlight the district providing mental health days for all employees district-wide through the end of the school year. We care so deeply about our people, and with this, we aim to prioritize mental well-being. Next, I will talk to you about the Employee Assistance Program. It is called Resources for Living, and Aetna is the insurance company that provides this for us, so you interchangeably may hear EAP, Aetna, Resources for Living. It's the same thing. So we sent a detailed survey in the spring of 2022 to all staff to find out what their needs were. And you can see 50% of employees ranked emotional well-being as their top priority. So that's our first goal moving forward with the work of our Wellness Committee. In second place, we have physical well-being as top priority for 36% of staff. Implementing the Employee Assistance Program, also integral component of the recovery plan, and there's so many resources to target both of these areas of wellness as well as more. So let me go to the next slide. Resources for Living. So you can see it's a comprehensive employee assistance program. There's emotional well-being support, daily life assistance, legal and financial, online resources including MindChat, chat therapy, as well as a discount center. One of the best things about this employee assistance program is that the resources are available to all 800 plus employees in the district, as well as all members of their household. So that could be a child in your household, an adult child, that could be a grandparent or someone else living in their household. Children living outside of the house or outside of the home are covered up to the age of 26. But I just think this cannot be understated, the value that that is giving our employees, that access to mental health that is so needed. So you can have access to 7 counseling sessions per occurrence. So this is the employee and any member of their household. And what I mean by per occurrence is depending on what you're calling for. So someone may call and say they want to talk about the stress of changing jobs. You can have 7 visits with a counselor, face-to-face, online. There are many options, televideo. You can have 7 for that. Then let's say down the road something comes up and you're having maybe a struggle in another area of your life or with your child moving away to college. That's another occurrence. So that's 7 more visits. So there's just so much opportunity for people to get the help that they need. The HR department has hosted multiple meetings prior to the launch and continue these meetings in each building. We make a point to get out and see our staff and connect with them to talk about the EAP and then to answer questions in general. The referrals there at the last bullet point, this is when folks are contacting the EAP over the phone or through the web. The numbers, staff indicated that they heard about the EAP from HR, so the numbers grew, or the percentage grew from 33% to 44%. So being out there and spreading the message is working. We are just entering our 5th month with the EAP. So we're still kind of in the infancy of development here and getting the word out. But it is very exciting to see that folks are taking advantage of what we're offering. So this is a little bit small, but this is our utilization data from the EAP from Aetna. For quarter 4 of 2022, we were just with them for 2 months. There were 65 sessions or visits to the website with 153 pages viewed. Now for quarter 1 of 2023, there have been 243 members logged into the website with 459 pages viewed as of March 8th. And we will continue to gather this data and report back to you. So on to the next goal is create a supportive environment, and this is just a lovely photo of our staff from the Welcome Back event at the beginning of the school year. So we want to create a supportive environment, and the following slides will showcase the work that is being done. Recognizing health education and awareness in PD is one of the main components of this goal of the recovery plan. So here you'll see photos of the special education ancillary staff participating in professional development at the Resiliency Center. There's other examples here of how we are taking time and being intentional about building health education wellness into professional development. The next slide, I have 2 buildings that I'm just going to highlight for you this evening. Lakeville Elementary, they are doing an excellent job. They've worked with the Resiliency Center to offer PD doing grounding beads. For Move It Mondays in March, their lovely PE teacher, Miss Day Cardenas, is offering a 20-minute circuit workout opportunity during the day each Monday for staff. And then a calm and relaxation room was created. And here, I want to play you just a very short clip. So you can hear the calming water, you can see the calming lights. I just wanted to share that with you to see the intention that the building put into that for their staff. Whoops. Okay. Next, I'd like to highlight Oxford Virtual Academy. Oxford Virtual Academy has always kept health and wellness at the forefront of their work together. On the right-hand slide here, you can see the Relax and Restore sessions that were available to staff during their Winterfest PD back in January. They offered 9 different types of Relax and Restore, which is amazing. So thank you, OVA, for your work in this space. Although I'm just highlighting those 2 specifically, all of our teams district-wide, along with their building well-being building champions, continue this intentional work. And I wish I could have presented more to you because they're all out there doing it. I heard so many amazing things today in our committee meeting, but these are just a couple examples I wanted to highlight for you tonight. So I want to take this opportunity to thank all staff for prioritizing this. And here are a couple fun photos from the Winterfest, the Winterfest PD held by Oxford Virtual Academy. It was at the Drainer Road property. They brought all of their staff. They have folks who work out in different areas of Michigan, and they brought them all in and hosted this wonderful opportunity, which built in a lot of time for wellness. So our work continues. The HR team is dedicated to serving the staff of Oxford. You can see Shannon Lewis, Allie Corian, and Kelly Abraham here. We will continue our work around the 3-year recovery plan and bring more updates to you. I want to thank these wonderful individuals for their work every day, their heartfelt dedication to this district, and to all of our district employees, know that we're here for you. Thank you. Take any questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions for Ryan?
I just have a comment.
Yes, Aaron.
Thank you for the presentation. I think it was great, and I want to just commend the committee too, because I have talked to people throughout the district, and well-being is not a plug and play, right? We're not going to throw events and you're going to feel well. I think the district's doing it with great intention and meeting the needs of many different people. From what I've heard is that it's being received really well. So good work.
Thank you.
Amanda.
I just have a quick question. The well-being survey that we had, it says February 23 on it, but it is February 22. Is that correct?
So the pulse survey that on that slide there, this was just 3 short questions that we sent out right before the first well-being committee meeting, just to measure the sentiment of our staff at the time. So just to see how they feel about stress, their personal wellness, and the overall wellness of district staff. What was sent back in 2022 was a comprehensive wellness study. It had multiple questions, much more in depth than this quick pulse survey. So this is to measure the sentiment around our work. That's why we want to measure 3 times a year to see if these initiatives are being well received, or to adjust based on feedback. But the plan would be also next year to do an in-depth well-being survey again to see if needs have changed.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, item 6, consent agenda. There's the meeting minutes of February 28th, bills payable, and 8 new hires. If there's a motion, would anybody care to read that? Mary.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there support? Support Aaron. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mary. Okay, item 7, Board of Education matters. We have the varsity football field trip approval request. And then item B, the first reading of these policies. Do we have anybody presenting on the, it's just in the packet?
Right, it's the varsity football field trip approval request it's pretty self-explanatory.
Mhm.
The group wants to go to Covenant Hills Camp for team building activities. It starts Monday, July 24th through July 26th. So it is an overnight. It is not a state competition. So overnight field trips that are not state competitions come to you for approval.
Correct.
Is
Okay.
this the football team?
Yes.
Varsity football.
So it's a varsity level only, no JV, freshman?
No, varsity football.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
I will just add, for those not familiar with Covenant Hills, that's where the band goes every summer, where they have band camp, at least for the last 6 years, and I'm sure for a while before that. A lot of other teams use those facilities for summer camp and whatnot. So I know that the district is very familiar with the
Correct.
location.
Okay, and there is no, it's just to make us aware, there is no vote It's just to make us aware that that is there, because that is what our,
Well, you'll approve it at the next meeting.
correct.
It's-
But we're not approving it
Yeah,
this
no,
evening.
No, at the next meeting.
Yep.
If you have questions, you can get them to me and I'll get you answers and it'll come back to you for approval.
Very good. First reading of policy updates. There are a few. Would anybody care to do those?
I can.
All right, Amanda.
There's a couple of them that we tabled. We're looking for legal opinion. So the majority of these were from the previous policy meeting that we never got to because I kept Vicki there for 4.5 hours. So these ones were mainly given to us as Neola updates or things that Security Department wanted to add. So there's not a lot going on in these, but we can run down. We'll start with 5111, and this is eligibility of resident and non-resident students. And we were taking out items G and J per Neola's advisement. Everything else would stay. Moving on to 5113.01, it was just a word change. Instead of using schools of choice intra-district, it is now intra-district schools of choice. Same thing for the next one, 5113.02, adding the word safe into the school choice options under that policy. Again, on policy 5120, replacing school choice plan with in-district transfer plan. Nothing else changes. Moving on to 5200, replacing 7 with 8 board-approved courses. Everything else on that one stayed the same. 6108, this was more Vicky's wheelhouse in ACH transfers. And again, not much changing there, except for we decided on, if you didn't notice on the second part, there is a box, the superintendent is authorized to develop the administrative guidelines concerning that, so we selected that, that one.
Can I add something to that, Amanda?
Yes, please.
So on the ACH policy, this is a new policy that we have to put on the books because we can now complete a lot of transactions electronically. We don't write and print checks to be sent out in the mail so much anymore. So we need to be sure that we have a policy that covers the ACH transactions.
And who can and can't authorize those, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And that authorization will stay the same as you do with your handwritten checks. It will just
Correct.
be transferred to these.
Thank you.
The next one, 6460, we are just updating the policy. And this one I needed clarification on too. So for anyone that doesn't know where this would apply, this is talking about vendors such as those who sell class rings or yearbooks or things like that, that they would be approved by the superintendent to access those events, you know, where they're sold. And then the next one, 6700, this is updating the Fair Labor Standards Act. We actually already have this administrative guideline in place at this time, but we are just updating the policy to reflect that. It's for the nursing mothers provision to make sure that they are accommodated as they should be, which again, this is already in the guidelines and procedures. We're just getting up to speed on it. And then also establishing the work week, that was recommended by HR. So that's what we decided to go with. If I'm missing anything, James or Mary, please step in. Okay. The next one would be 7440.03. This has to do with the use of drones. We've been waiting a little bit on this one because I had a hang-up as far as the insurance was considered. I know with our homeowners insurance, it's considered an aircraft, and you're often not covered, but we did finally get confirmation that SEG, the current insurance provider, would cover in the event of this, so we felt comfortable moving forward. And this basically, you know, says that you must have permission. No one's allowed to fly a drone over district property. And the last one was policy 9150, which we had to revise based on Neola because of the governor's new orders regarding sex offenders. And we went back and forth a little bit on this one, but ultimately that's what we landed on, or the highlighted section, where conditions may be imposed by the superintendent for individuals' campus visits, which campus visit refers to campus games, everything school-related. And then it also goes on to touch on board members visiting any of the campuses, and that is to be approved by the superintendent. And then the reporting, if we observe anything, would go straight to the superintendent. We got rid of the principal step and just made it straight to superintendent. Those were the recommendations that we had for you on policy. Like I said, the other two, or was it two?
Two. I can't remember the second one, though.
Flag,
Student rep,
student
student
rep.
flag and the student rep.
We're waiting on some legal opinion and other information before we can bring you that.
Oh, okay.
Heather?
Okay, so you guys said you went back and, I'm asking questions about 9150, the school visitors policy. So you're saying you approve where it says individuals who are registered sex offenders and wish to participate in school activities may be allowed on campus?
Yep, that was my first thought, and I wanted to
So how is
replace that
that?
with shall, not may. That conditions must be imposed, but I think Mary might be able to speak better to the law that was passed by the governor. She no longer requires 1,000 feet for loitering, visiting, anything of a school by sex offenders. That's gone now. So in order to...
Well, that doesn't mean that we have to adopt it.
You do have to follow the law.
If it's the legislature and the governor passed something through the legislature, or if she executive ordered it, then we would have to follow it. Becomes Michigan law. However, my question is unless you're, and I don't want to ask a question until you're done, so.
No, I mean,
My clarification would like to come with, before somebody comes on campus, do they have to get prior consent from the superintendent?
That would be through the iChat.
So
That's
if
what
you're
I-
coming into, when you're coming in to volunteer in a building, you check in and you have to have your ID scanned. So if anything comes up and that checks the iChat, whatever that checks the iChat and the sex offender registry.
It's Go Guardian that's there.
Right.
It's the Go Guardian check that goes through there. The iChat is when you
Go
volunteer
Guardian,
inside
sorry.
the district. So
Right.
if you're a long-term volunteer, iChat, which is a criminal conviction check in the state of Michigan only, and then Go Guardian is what your ID goes through. And there's things already in the AG side that if you meet certain criteria, you're not allowed onto the campus and stuff.
So just be, the fact that someone is a registered sex offender doesn't mean they can't come on our campus. There's a very wide, there's a wide variety of offenses that could get you on a sex offender list. So we can't, and as the law says, we can't just say if you're on that list, you can't come on campus. We can't tell people they can't come to football games, can't come to concerts. But when they're coming to volunteer in a classroom or with students or going on a field trip, they have whatever level of background checks are required by
Now,
the
wait a
law.
second.
So we can't.
How come there's no reference to the
Are we
law?
talking about this being a law, or are we talking about Oxford's doing this?
The change was based on a law.
We can
I
send
will
you
find it.
the legislative connect.
Yeah.
We can send you the link.
Yeah, there is
With the legislative action that was taken. And if you'd like, we can also send you Neola's legal interpretation of that action. I don't have it here tonight, but
Yeah.
we can link you to that.
So I think it would be helpful to have that, because if you look at other policies, it references the legal code, and it's not on
You are correct.
Angela just pointed out that this was given to us by Neola, and their words are, "The proposed revision to this policy reflects the recent changes required by amendments approved by the governor to the Sex Offender Registration Act, or SORA. The change was made to policy 8400 in a recent update. This revision should be considered in order to have consistent policies and to remain compliant with Michigan law." That was Neola's.
But we can link you to
Right,
the
so
law,
Yep.
so you can get
Absolutely.
an interpretation of it.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna approve this tonight then.
It doesn't
No, it's a first reading.
Oh, I thought it was the second reading
No.
from the
I-
couple meetings ago.
No, we both
No.
did it.
Oh, those were the other batch.
So
Okay.
what I would
I
like to do
apologize.
is get the verbiage from Neola, follow it up with, and layer it over the top of this. On top of that, I would like to get a legal opinion if we say no.
I will say that we did ask Neola originally, because I wanted shall, not may. And Neola originally did come back to us and say that we could do that. But then this other one came out, so there has been a lot of,
Banter back and forth about it. I would like
A
to
lot.
just have, I would
Well, I
like to
think
have
we should
another
consult
legal.
Bill Laha on that too, and, he gets a lot of updated information on legislative, like verbiage and things like that.
And it's not to say that the
oh,
work
I
that
would
you've
love to
done
see this stricter. That was my biggest
isn't
thing.
right. It's just, before we get a second reading, I'd like to have a little bit more
Yeah.
meat on that. Okay. So those were our, is there support?
Is there any other questions?
Well, we never really got to support
sorry.
before we got to the end of that. We just
Oh,
went into
sorry.
that. That's okay. So we've had all the readings, we've had all the policy
Yeah.
updates. Is there support for those? Mary?
Oh,
Um,
move to approve. She didn't do the move to
She-
approve.
okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Do you want to do the move to approve, Amanda?
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Move to approve the first reading of policy numbers 5111, 5113.01, 5113.02, 5120, 5200, 6108, 6460, 6700, 7440.03, and 9150.
Thank you. Is there support? Mary? Any discussion?
When we're doing policies, can I ask two favors? One, could we make sure the references at the end are updated? I don't know if Neola provides that, but something like that would be in the references, and that's how policies are. It helps people link it back. So if anyone in the community, or even myself, because I'm a linker backer, can go and find it without having to mull about too far. The other is if there's going to be this many, an executive summary of sorts in the board packet, I think is super helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Do you want to just put the one in that we get from you? Absolutely.
Okay.
Give you an electronic link.
We
Neola?
do have an electronic link. Does that get updated as Neola updates their policies, so it automatically gets uploaded? Correct.
Well, our website would have our updated policies. If you wanted to see Neola's policy, if we didn't update this, it wouldn't be on our website. But it would be, we could link you to
Okay.
Neola's website.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
They also have some of the summary that Amanda had just read. They offer that with those packages. They offer a summary of each that we could just,
Right, put in your packets.
yeah, we can just put it in the packets. Sure.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay. All in favor of the first reading? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item C, MASB 2022 Outstanding Achievements. So I want to just go over the levels. Mary Hanser is level 5 Master Diamond Award. Congratulations, Mary. Amanda McDonough, level 1 Certified Board Member Award. And Dr. Aaron Reese, level 1 Master Board Member Award, or I'm sorry, Certified Board Member Award. Congratulations. Thank you for continuing to educate on what it takes to be a board member. And it's, I know some of those, it's a little bit easier now that some of them are online, so it helps, but yeah, so thank you very much. All right. Curriculum and instruction. We have a special education course additions request for our approval.
Oh, I'll read that.
I was just going to say, go ahead.
I will read that because I thought it was awesome. Move to approve the special education curriculum course additions for the 2023-2024 school year.
Is there support? Mike, any discussion?
Great work. I thought it was
Yes.
great work too.
Yes, it was.
I really great work. I went over a lot of it, my notes afterwards, and I actually kind of watched the link back again so that I could watch it, not necessarily as a board member, but really watch it as a special ed parent. And I think that this will just be a lot of opportunities for these kids so that they can finish and graduate, and it's going to be a great path for them. Very good work.
Yep. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I just want to add a quick thank you to our special education department and our entire staff. It just goes to show that, you know, when I first was on the board, I think we were short in our special education department as far as how we allocated funds, how we allocated personnel, and that I am proud to say it's much more robust and it's much more thoughtful and intentional. So thank you very much. Item number 9, finance and operations. Mr. Barna.
This report was
This-
brought
yep.
to you at the last
Mhm.
meeting,
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you have questions, Sam is here. If you don't, we're waiting for approval.
Anybody have questions before? Well, let's go ahead and make the motion first, and if there's questions that pop up, we'll go ahead and use that as part of the discussion portion. So who would like to read that? Heather.
Move to approve the 2022-2023 first amended general budget as presented.
Is there support? Support James. Any discussion? Anybody? No. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Safety and school operations, Dr. Williman presented, we have our Lighthouse Connections Academy board member approval. Good evening.
There we go. I'm here tonight to bring forward 2 candidates from the Lighthouse Connections Academy. It's the charter school we partner with. Their authorizer is Pearson. And so part of our agreement is that we approve their board members. So you have been given a letter from Beth Chandler, who is the director of charter schools. So I'm bringing forward Mark Lashbrook and Veronica Deepotty to serve on the Lighthouse Connections Academy board. And this would be appointed to a 3-year term that would begin immediately and expire on June 30th of 2026.
Okay, I have a question before we
Yes.
go. So there really is no election of those board members. They're almost appointed?
Yes. They go through an application process. I meet with Beth Chandler as well as Doug McNeil, the lawyer that oversees that. And then they bring the applications forward, and then Ms. Chandler interviews the candidates. And then we check and ensure that the background check, that they pass that. That's part of our process in there. And as long as they meet the criteria of the board of the charter school, we bring them to you to approve.
That is very typical, the way charter schools select their boards.
Okay, would anybody like to read that recommendation? Dr. Reese?
Move to approve the appointment of Mark Lashbrook and Veronica DiPatti to the Lighthouse Connections Academy Board of Directors as recommended.
Is there support? Support Amanda. Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, yes, go ahead.
So I'm just looking, so they don't have to be within any district of, I'm looking at where these two live, and they're like
No.
Marysville and Lake Odessa.
Right, it doesn't fall under the same criteria as a
So it
public
doesn't have-
school
okay.
board would.
Also, this is virtual,
Yes.
so their student base comes from all over.
Okay, interesting.
And so one of the reasons we added Lighthouse Connections years ago was they have a wider scope. And correct me if I'm wrong, if my memory serves me correctly, they have a wider scope. Our virtual academy, we can only service the students that touch our Oakland County borders. Lighthouse can go all over. They can go outside those borders. So that's the benefit that they have as opposed to what we have in Oxford. So that's why you would see somebody from outside our traditional area.
Well, this is almost a separate, it's
in a separate entity.
And OVA is able to serve a different way too. This is a separate partnership that we have.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, unscheduled public comment, item number 11. Missed it. I thought I saw Buck get up and turn one in, I just went right by it. Shirley Tomzak.
Oh, okay. I've been here before, so I will simply say that I am currently the grandparent of 2 Oxford High School students and have been a part of the Oxford schools for over 50 years. After 15 years of teaching middle and high school in Oxford, I became a counselor. And I want to add that your new hire in HR, Shannon Lewis, was one of my counselees when I was a counselor. And she's an absolutely amazing, compassionate human being, and congratulations on hiring her. I became a counselor because I realized that students' emotions affect their learning, and that each student is a complex ecosystem of physical, emotional, and mental abilities. A child does not leave their emotions at the door when they enter a classroom. In fact, they more often leave their intellect at the door and come into the classroom as a collection of emotions. Over the past 50 years, much research has been done on how children learn and how the brain functions. I know it's popular these days by some people to dismiss experts and scientific study, but this flies in the face of how we have managed to make any progress into the 21st century. I am no expert, but I respect and have always been curious about how children learn and how the brain functions. So because March is Reading Month, I'm presenting a book to the board that I would hope that members would be able to take a look at and peruse. Some of you who have a background in education have probably already read it. And as a former English teacher, I wish I could assign you all a book report on the book, but I realize that's wishful thinking. However, if anyone would like to start a discussion group of the best practices in education and how children learn, I would be glad to join you. The book is entitled Emotional Intelligence and Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. It was written in 1995 by Daniel Goleman, who received his PhD from Harvard, taught at Yale, and is currently a fellow of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. He is also the creator of social emotional learning. So I'm asking that this book be at least perused by board members. There's a chapter on trauma and emotional learning, and our students have definitely experienced trauma. And to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom, and our children deserve social emotional learning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good book. I've read it.
You've read it?
Many times.
You didn't write it, did you?
I didn't write it, but I read it. Very good book.
All right. So I just, as we're going over, if you go over, I'll give you a few minutes to wrap up your thoughts. You know, I know it's a lot to get out in 3 minutes. So just, if you get to 3 minutes, you hear the buzz, just try to wrap up your thoughts at that point. I'm not going to slam the gavel, but I'm just asking you just to kind of wrap up the thoughts. So thank you. Corrine, did I get that? Did I mispronounce?
No, I just didn't want to be second. I wanted to hear some other people first. I have nothing prepared, but basically I'm here because I continue to be upset and outraged by the handling of what happened November 30th. I'm heartbroken over the handling of what happened. I'm completely outraged by the immunity that the school has been given, and I'm really happy that it will be appealed because I really do believe that people failed to do their jobs that day. I came to one of the first board meetings after November 30th when the board meeting started again. And one of my first questions was about policy and the steps that were taken that day, because it was just so obvious to everyone, the whole community, to social workers and everyone that lives in the community, that something wasn't done right that day. So anyway, I also would like to know why the report isn't out yet. I believe that we're the only school that hasn't put a report out within a year, so that's pretty unsettling. And I just remember after the shooting that my sister, who lives in New Orleans, she told me, you know, the eyes of the country are on Oxford, and everybody was going to watch and see how Oxford handled this. And I'm just so sad. It's been 67 weeks since it happened, and every Tuesday marks another week without those 4 precious children that didn't get to come home. And we still don't get to have the answers for what happened, and people are still working at this school who were directly involved. I feel that in my job, I do work for the school, and I feel like I'm held more accountable in my role than people were for that day. So yeah, I'm just here to express that and demand the report be given to us. We are all wondering, you know, what's in that report and why is it taking so long? So that's it. Thank you.
Danielle Krozek.
Good evening. First and foremost, governmental immunity does not dismiss the district from negligence. Hiding behind it is unacceptable and accountability is still required. I work in the tech industry where we use this concept of working backwards created by Amazon. You write a press release that kind of describes your end game and outcome. I want to use this technique for demonstrating what accountability should look like. To the Muir, Schilling, St. Juliana, and Baldwin families, we are sorry. To the Franz, Mueller, Watson, Asciutto, Arthur, Osage, Darnell, and Gregory's, we are sorry. To all the students, staff, and community members across Oxford, we are sorry. In the days following 11/30, the district conducted an internal investigation of policies, procedures, and interactions with the shooter. Our investigations found a number of failures. Despite multiple red flags, a threat assessment team was not assembled. The SRO was not engaged. Despite reasonable suspicion, the backpack was not checked. Policies were adopted in 2016, but the district failed to implement necessary training and procedures. As a result, those responsible for failing to implement and execute are no longer employed by this district. While we cannot bring Tate, Hannah, Justin, and Madison back, as a district, we can take bold actions. We can take accountability. We can learn from our fatal mistakes and help ensure this never happens again. We have since hired additional staff, put threat assessment teams, training, and procedures in place. We have shifted funds that would have otherwise been spent on legal fees, instead putting towards our students, staff, and ensuring prevention, safety, and resilience and recovery. Procedures will be audited quarterly to ensure they were implemented with fidelity. The district is an active participant in the Oakland County Prosecutor's Commission to address gun violence, and on several committees promoting statewide threat assessment models, reporting systems, and prevention strategies. We are advocating for legislation and funding to support these initiatives across public schools statewide. We have spoken with victims' families, staff, and students regularly. We have established regular communication forums to discuss concerns, recommendations for improvement and recovery. We deeply regret the pain and trauma this horrific tragedy has caused. Oxford Community Schools is dedicated to keeping our students and staff safe. More than words, we are taking real actions to rebuild trust and prove to the community that we are. We are relentlessly committed to honoring the legacy of Tate, Hannah, Justin, and Madison by taking accountability and ensuring others across the United States learn from our mistakes. That is what Oxford Strong looks like: accountability, integrity, and action. Thank you.
Andrea Jones. I'm sorry?
We're in the middle of a meeting.
Yes, because we have a closed session afterwards.
I understand that, but is he part of our community?
It's an open meeting.
Open meeting?
Yeah.
So he gets to absorb everything here?
If, you know what, out of respect, could we have the attorneys just go outside for a while until we get ready to have our closed session? Would that be okay? Please?
I think Danielle did a fantastic job of laying out what we should have done.
Instead, we become a cautionary tale of exactly what not to do. It's been 469 days without an investigation, not so much as a police report, and that is absolutely unacceptable. So you're not ready to give answers through a review or investigation or whatever term you want to put on that, but you were ready to educate the community with a Protect Your School on an Active Shooter luncheon. How? How are you going to do that when we don't have the answers? I'd also like to know why myself and other parents were excluded from attending that event after we registered and received a follow-up email telling us we would not have entry into the event in our district as a taxpayer. So I'm still waiting for an answer on that. Being granted immunity does not mean that you were not grossly negligent. It just means that you get unfair protection under the law. This is not a victory lap for the district. There are 0 winners here. Where are the SABRE results? We know that you have them. Where are they? We want to know who looked at those, who was responsible, what the outcomes were. I have heard nothing about my son's own SABRE results, so what are we doing with those? Another interesting fact, or quote rather, from Mullins, who's outside now, pertaining to the lawsuit. We filed a motion that said everything that Ven Johnson said in his complaint is true, but the case should still be dismissed because EC is the cause. So you're fully admitting that everything in the lawsuit was true. So you were grossly negligent. You just get unfair protection under the law. So let's be very clear about that. I also found it interesting earlier you were talking about the recovery plan and for the teachers, and it was a very interesting choice of words that you used, per occurrence. So per occurrence, you guys can clearly define when it comes to support for teachers, but you cannot define per occurrence when it comes to compensation for victims' families. So I find that very interesting that it depends on who we're talking about. I also want to talk about guideposts because there's been a lot of contention over whether or not we're going to get an unbiased review. So I want to read a quote from Andrew O'Donnell. In a 2014 interview with Private Wealth magazine, a Guidepost executive described its private client protection program as a combination of investigation, risk mitigation, and crisis management, tailored to the needs of high net worth and high profile individuals. The executive, then CEO, Andrew O'Connell said, Guidepost clients are often already in crisis mode and they just want their problem to go away. O'Connell added, we're very good at making the problems go away with the least amount of repercussions for the client. How are we to trust this company? They're nothing more than slick crisis management, and they admit it.
Jason McCarthy.
Good afternoon. I'm Jace McCarthy, and I'm a part of the class of 2022. I'm here about a year late to share my experience at graduation due to certain policies being put in place. On May 19th, 2022 was the OHS graduation. 2 days beforehand, on the 17th, there was a board meeting about the memorial. On the 19th, the dress rehearsal for a chamber choir, I was pulled aside by my teacher explaining that I should not boo or cause an outrage during the speeches of Tom and Ken. I was the only student pulled aside. And I told him along the lines of, I would never do that, especially during graduation. I know what they'll be speaking about. This is about the friends that we've lost. I was more worried about the consequences, and I told some of Justin's closest friends to stop booing because they were in the same row as me, and I did not want them to think it was me. My words didn't convince them. By the time we got close to the letter M, I turned to my friends and said, should I do something funny? And what should I do? We discussed and joked about what we've seen on social media from other classes. By the time I got up there, Dan was handing out diplomas. They said my name. I walked up and I said, "I want you to know I respect you." He smiled. I held out my hand and took it back and did a motion as if I was slicking my hair. Then we shared a look of shock. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I was going to be yelled at. I took the diploma and sped across the stage as fast as I could, or that's what it felt like in my mind. I went to Ken and I said, "I respect you, but I will not be shaking your hand." Then I bowed my head and walked off. When it came to the clap out, hugging teachers and friends, I let my friends go ahead of me to speak to Dan. That's where I went wrong. I went up to say, "Thank you for being a good sport. I want you to know that it wasn't targeted, nor did I have ill intent." I held out my hand and opened my mouth, but Dan spoke for me. Now, Dan can correct me if I'm wrong, but he said things like, "Grow up, you shouldn't have graduated, and you'll never speak at a board meeting again." And a long list of many other things. Sorry, that I should grow the fuck up. Sorry, my bad. And a long list of many other things. I didn't know what to do, so I continued to walk away. I went to the main area.
This is a personal attack, but finish. No, it's not. It is not. And I'm going to tell you what. Your next words better be real true. Okay? Go ahead and finish.
I walked out to the main area to take photos with friends, but all I could say was, "I think I just got cussed out." I giggled. I didn't know what to do because I was in shock, and I was overwhelmed with so many emotions. That's when Corey, Eric, and Chad came up to me, and I stood there in silence. I was worried what they were going to say or if they were going to tell me off. They apologized and hugged me, saying no member should say that, and on so. On the way to the senior all-night party, former President Tom called me. Once more, not knowing what to say, I apologized, and I told him what I said was out of fun intent and never meant harm. We talked and apologized, but that was the last of it for the most part. I know there are many more important things I could talk about, but since Corey came up and spoke, I thought it was my turn to share my story. And when the next graduation comes, which is coming up soon, I hope you learn enough that whether it's a fake handshake, a dance, or a gag, to keep your cool. What was super important that night was supposed to be, one, I was graduating, and two, to watch Justin's family get their diploma and cheer on his family, especially his siblings, because my brother was too scared to come. Thank you.
Buck Muir.
I don't even know where to start, and I don't even know what to say. But imagine and you can't imagine, but imagine going to the coroner's office and picking this up with your significant other. Though I don't believe that anybody did anything in malice that day. Who would want to do that, right? But I do believe that things went wrong that day. And I don't understand why we're running from it. I don't get it. The only way that we will ever grow is to learn from our mistakes. Remember, I used to tell Tate that all the time. One of Tate's biggest disappointments that he had was when he lost his sophomore year in the state wrestling tournament. There was a buzz about Tate. Young sophomore, wrestling up in a man's class. There was a little bit of buzz. He was expected to be all-state. And he choked. And when we got a chance to talk about it, I put my arm around him. I said, well, your biggest leaps come from your biggest failures, Tate. And you need to embrace that. And you need to be accountable for what you need to get better at. And Tate absorbed it. And from that day forward, he looked at life differently because he didn't achieve something he wanted to achieve. And he was going to be great. He didn't have the opportunity to be great that following year. But when I think about how we've handled this, I can't believe that I need to be up here even talking about it. I can't believe that you guys could put your head on the pillow every night and think that you've done everything to get accountability. I can't believe that I have to remind you to have these guys not being here out of respect for us, the attorney. I mean, those are simple things that are gone in our society that matter. So I don't want to get into any details. I mean, we know nothing. Well, we know enough to ask more questions. And you guys aren't asking the questions. You're taking direction from attorneys, and you're protecting the house. And you're never going to get better by protecting the house. Because those attorneys are about money and power. We know the insurance company's they're the puppets. They're pulling the strings. We get it, right? But how are we going to get better? By owning it. Everything we do in our life, we own it, we get better. And you are not showing that, most importantly, to our kids. Our kids are watching your every move, and they're not seeing it. So, as a district, if we want to hold our kids accountable, what do we got to stand on? Got nothing. Because we're not standing up and holding ourselves accountable for anything. Now, we could sit here and argue all day long whether we did something right that day. When I mean we, I mean you, the district. But let's ask some questions. Let's get it out on the table and figure it out. But we can't get there. We can't get there. So, it's a long shot, right? It's a long shot that someday you guys, this district will be accountable and we'll get better. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because that's what Tate would want. And I'm going to keep driving change through 42 Strong. And I'm going to advocate. We got an advocacy lane that we're working on in 42 Strong. And we're going to make a difference. My question to you is, are you going to make a difference?
Renee Upham.
Good evening. My name's Renee Upham. My son Keegan is an Oxford High School student. Up until a few weeks ago, I was a teacher in this district. My classroom was right across the hall. I resigned from that position. There's colleagues in this building that I admire greatly, and I will miss them, and I love them. There's students in this building that I love and I will miss. I just could no longer work for a system that not only made egregious decisions, that ended up costing students and families so much devastating, massive loss. But I also couldn't work for a district that later made the unilateral decision to not own it, admit it, take accountability for it, or apologize for it. Let me be clear, for every student and student's family at the high school that day, you did none of those things. Either you don't know that what's going on here is absolutely dysfunctional. Outsiders see it. They know it. So either you don't see it, or you do know it and you just don't care. Because keeping this machine of a public school operating is more important to you than showing that Oxford High School kids and their families that leaders do the right things even when it's difficult. You do not have these kids' backs if you don't own this. There's a mural in this building that students see when they walk in. It says, "We have your backs." After the shooting, I walked in and I wondered, well, who had those 4 kids' backs? And now I wonder who has these kids' backs. I spoke Friday with someone very high up in Guidepost, and when I say high up, I mean the highest. We spoke for 40 minutes. I did very little of the talking. Here's what I learned. Guidepost has faced and continues to face obstacles and interferences in their investigation. I learned that the union has not been a friend to this investigation. I learned it's possible Guidepost might potentially provide the only official record of what happened leading up to that day and that day. And they take this responsibility seriously, and they wish that information was more forthcoming. The fact that the investigation has stalled in certain areas does not seem to be a concern of yours or a priority. I haven't heard you talk about that. And finally, from Guidepost, I learned that lawyers cannot make you side with them over families and kids. You guys made that decision on your own. Lastly, regarding school immunity, it has to go, and I believe someday it will. School immunity means nothing when it has been devalued so much that it means no accountability for children dying under your watch. It might cover a district from certain things, but what it doesn't do is it doesn't protect you from the truth. It might provide you with a large shield right now, just for right now, hopefully. But what it does not do, it doesn't give you your integrity back, and it never will. Thank you.
Okay, we have item 12, item 12 is our scheduled activities, and the list is ranging from spring break to our board meetings all the way through May, or actually through June, which is the end of our calendar year. Any administrative clarification?
No.
No. Final board comments? Dr. Reese?
So last time I spoke about the advocacy event in April, I said it was the 20th. There has been some date changes. There'll be 2 advocacy events that individuals can participate in. One is April 19th with the state of Michigan Association of School Boards, and then May 4th for Oakland County Association of School Boards. I will plan on being on the May 4th one, but the 19th I'll be out of town, but anybody's welcome to go.
Anybody else? No. Okay, we have a closed session. Would somebody like to read that motion? Mary?
Move to meet in closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Section 8E, for the purpose of consulting with its attorneys regarding trial strategy in connection with case numbers 21-CV-12871, 22-CV-10407, 22-CV-10805, 22-CV-11113, 22-CV-11250, 22-CV-11251, 22-192262NO, 22-194891NO, 22-195663NO, and 22-196849NO, and Section 8H to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute. Attorney-client privilege, written legal opinion.
Dr. Reese, will you take a roll call vote, please? I'm sorry. Is there support? James? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Whitney?
Yes.
Trustee Summers?
Yes.
Trustee McDonough?
Yes.
Secretary Reese, yes. Treasurer Hanser?
Yes.
Vice President Schaefer?
Yes.
President D'Alessandro?
Yes.
So we get a time?
Okay, it is 10:10, meeting is adjourned.